We'll be demoing it from start to finish, and the purpose is to really show how COHO can, from a rent and financial perspective, track the management agreement with your landlords, track the rent coming in through open banking, have that automatically create the fees, and then from that make the settlement process really, really simple. So yeah, so the plan for the next, well, probably half an hour is we'll begin by showing you our new open banking transaction management, where we use AI to match up against rents. And then from there, how that will update the tenants rent collection panel. So David, do you want to kick us off by sharing your screen?
Yes, perfect. Neil, if you could kindly give me permission to share the screen. It's a great pleasure to be here today and to demonstrate our software. And I hope everyone's going to love it. Perfect. So I think we're going to jump straight into banking feeds. It's where the data flows from. It feeds from your banking feed, and it's the best way to reconcile your rents is via the actual bank transactions. So we support integration of one or more banking feeds. You can have as many as you'd like. You can link your client money account, or if you're an owner operator, you can link your current account. All of your bank transactions will then get pulled in via the open banking, and the software that we've built will make a best attempt to do 3 levels of matching. First, the fully automated matching, then secondly, a proposed possible matching, and then the third level is where you would need to get involved to do your manual level of matching. We've created some demo data here, and what's interesting here is we didn't want any of these to fully auto match, so we've actually not used any of the payment references in our payments. It may be something you're familiar with if you've had any tenants in your houses. And so this would be your day-to-day screen. It's as simple as going, you've got Adrian answer over here. We can see this is matching his tenancy. If we wanted to, we can have a quick detour into his tenancy to go and have a look at what that rent book looks like before we go and reconcile his payment. You can see he's been billed in advance for his entire period. We've got his full rent book available, and he's owing us 1 month of rent. It's the month that he's paid. We're quite happy with that. We just click OK, and that goes through and matches the payments. And so the idea is you just keep working through these and you click OK, OK. And at some point you're done with your reconciliations. If you've got any reconciliations that you were not able to match, they kind of fall in this catch-all table at the bottom where you can go and manually match them. If we imagine this match wasn't here, we'll just go and find that tenancy. QV6, that seems to be the postcode or the payment reference, so we know that's for Angela, and we can go ahead and match that. And you're also able to decide what you want to match it against. If you have arrears, you usually may leave those. And final bit, when you're creating your manual matches, is you can create an automation rule. So the idea behind all of this is that shortly in the future, you don't really need to do too much matching on this table. You'll come to a screen here and you'll have everything's done and taken care of.
Those partial matches that we saw as because they were coming up as partials because the transactions weren't quite correct what the tenant was putting in. As you match them, the system learns, and then the next time when it notices those same references with the same shape of a payment, it will automate the logging of it then.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what Van said. So now you have 2 ways you can go. You can go to credit control, where you chase your arrears, which is the step I'm going to do. So within our rent collection panel, there are multiple tools. There's a way just to see the data, but we've built a purpose-built credit control tool, which, as you can see, it's pulled in this one tenant that's in arrears. And the tool is built around an escalation policy. We have put together a policy for our clients. So you can use our policy. You can go and customize that. For the sake of this demo, I'm not going to spend too much time looking into the policy. You then take that policy and apply that policy to this arrears. So we can see this tenant 17 days in arrears, and we've got all of these steps up to 17 days late. And as you work through these steps, we track that in our credit control logging. This is an example of the email that would go out. So we go ahead and send that standard email. Did I click OK or did I click cancel? There we go, clicked OK. And so we've gone and sent that email. And now we've got this here in our credit control, which is really important for doing your Section 8 evictions. You can make custom notes as well, call the tenant, and they confirm that they will pay. And then that's also a great way to track if there's a payment plan in place. For example, I'm going to open up their rent book to show you what that would look like now on their rent collection panel. We've got their credit control note here, and they're still in arrears. And so this is for Derek. Come on, Derek, pay your rent. So moving on from the credit control, very powerful tool, well worth it to check it all out. We now get onto the deeper topic of how do we pay our property owner and how do we track this data in Xero. So we get all of our rent book data into Xero in a sensible way. What we've built is an integration with Xero, which you open through your configurations panel. I already have it open, so I'm going to jump straight there. And this is what our Xero integration looks like. If you've used other tools, you may be familiar with it or with the concept. There's not really any way around being forced to map your chart of accounts to your rent book items, for example, since every person's Xero account will be different. This is the example account we've created. We've got managed properties, so you have a property control account. We've got owned properties in this portfolio, so that would be direct revenue. And you also have to set up your payment source. All of this allows Xero to know where the money's going to and where the money's coming from. In Xero, you can set up tracking categories, so we fully support those. Here with Raymond James, we've set up his flats, both as the individual properties, but also as the type of letting that they are. You can see in this small little portfolio, we actually have one Airbnb unit, which is also interesting. And we can find the property owner, Raymond James. We have a contact for him in Xero. What that means is if we go into Xero, we've got that same contact in Xero, and we can see the items that sits on Raymond James's account. This is all driven through the settlement process, which we're now going to double back to look at. So how do we create these settlements to know how much to disperse to our landlords? We've created a really powerful tool within COHO that allows you to disperse the rent, the management, and charge money for your own works, charge money for tradesmen's works. A quick demo here is one I've made earlier, which is a really simple settlement. It's essentially just a single rent with the associated management fee. And we can generate a PDF of what that would look like for the property owner. So this would be the statement that you would give the property owner. And creating those settlements are as easy as picking your date range, choosing whether you want prepaid items. Typically, you do disperse prepaid items, so I'm going to click yes. And then we get a preview of what's included in that. And we can see we're working with the current items here. We've got multiple rents, two rooms here. You review this, you're happy with it, you just go ahead and create that settlement, which initially creates as a draft. It allows you to get another staff member to review that. So here I've got that settlement. I'm going to go ahead and approve that settlement. And now we've got the settlement. It's ready to be paid. You've got two sides to every settlement. You've got the property owner side, which is Raymond James. and his income of £639. And you've got the organization side, your business's income, which is this 261. This can then be synchronized into Xero on an ad hoc basis, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it on an ad hoc basis for the sake of this demo. And we're going to go and find that one. And delete this draft. I don't want that hanging around anymore. Perfect. And it's this one over here. So once we go and synchronize that settlement, that's going to go straight into Xero on Raymond's account and generate two items for the client money movement. The first item it's going to create is a payment from your property controller account directly to the property owner, which is his disbursement. There will be a income, which is the money that you've earned from Raymond, which will match the money in on your current account. And finally, there is also the payment out to your organization from the client money account. We can see here, this is to pay yourself, really. And that's you taking, so £1,000 came in, which is rent for properties within Raymond's portfolio. 120 of that is your management fee. So this bill payable disperses that money from the client money to your current account. This invoice of £120 is you earning that money on your current account, different bank account, which is another money movement. And this 888 is the money that's paid out to Foregate Flats Limited or Raymond James. And that's essentially every settlement has these three money movements as the money makes its way from the client money account to the property owner and to your organization. And all of that is driven by these settlements, which brings up questions. Can I add ad hoc charges to settlements? How does it work with maintenance, etc.? How do I set up the management fees? So here on flat number 4, I'll show you how you set up the management fees. You can set up on a per property basis, the property ownership. It's quite configurable and one needs to be careful to configure it correctly. You can set your commission as a percentage. You can define whether there's VAT included or VAT added, or whether VAT is not relevant. So that's if you're not VAT registered. When do you earn your management fee? So on the rent due would mean that you earn your management fee whether the tenant's paid or not. And you can set up multiple property owners, including SPVs within those property owners. That data then creates the management fees, which we saw in the disbursement. Then with regards to maintenance, here I've got a good example. We've got this Airbnb changeover, which we've put through as a maintenance item. The tenant stayed, they've changed over, the cleaners have gone in and they've cleaned. We've got this £100 invoice from the supplier, from the tradesman, which they've been able to add with their own account. And now we need to decide how do we charge that on to the property owner. And this is where the power of our financial items comes in. Clicking through these, everything's pre-filled, even the invoice file is attached, and that invoice will make its way into Xero itself, which I'll demonstrate shortly. On the final step, you get to decide your onward invoicing, and we've tried to make this as powerful as we can. You can decide not to charge the owner, but still tell them that you've had an expense. You can decide to charge the owner only the exact amount and pay that directly from their client money, which means it doesn't touch your current account or your working capital, and VAT considerations are not relevant. You could do a markup. So perhaps in this case, we have a standard process where we mark it up by £20 for these cleans. So we're going to go ahead and charge the owner £120. And if we look at what that would create by clicking the preview button, we can see that our organization is going to pay the cleaner directly. then we are going to earn an income over here of £120 from the property owner. And so that gives you a preview of the money movements on account. Another option could be cost plus fee. So that is where, let's say you are very transparent with your property owners, you always give them the underlying invoice, and they pay the underlying invoice. You pay it on their behalf directly from the client money, but then there's an additional management fee that they have to pay you. Then you would do a cost plus fee. And what's interesting about that is that this client expense is now coming from the client money account, and the only bit that touches your bank account is the £20 management fee. So this is very suitable if you're trying to stay under that VAT threshold, so that you're only moving money through your account that you need to move through your account. I'm going to go ahead and create these items for flat 5. And now that they're created, we can actually see the link here on the maintenance item. We have a convenient toggle to show you which items you've not created billing for, if that makes sense. So the invoices coming in from the landlords are not the same as the invoice that you charge so the invoice coming in from the tradesman is not the same invoice as the one that you charge the property owner, possibly not the same invoice. So that's why you have this step where you go and convert that invoice from the tradesman. This is a standard repair. There was no electricity, carried out by efficient electricians. And in this case, with this agreement, we are only charging the property owner the cost, and we're just paying it directly from the client money. Great, so we've gone and done that. We're happy with the financial items. We do the little toggle. We've got no homework left here habitually, so every month or every week. That's also quite useful where you have managed properties, but your organization's arranging for the weekly or monthly cleaning, and you want to save yourself the hassle of entering that financial item every single week. So in the case of flat 4, which is the HMO, we can say someone else is doing property health services. They're doing a clean. It is our spotless clean company. They charge £80 per month for their 2 visits. This is a cost only paid from the client money account. And the first charge starts on the 1st of July. Kind of makes sense to line it up with your billing dates. And do we want to create it in advance? Yes, why not? We want to see it 2 weeks in advance. We'd like to see that item created. And so that repeating financial item is going to run every single month. We can now jump back to the finances panel that we demonstrated earlier. Going back to this property owner, and now if we were to create a settlement, maybe in a couple of weeks' time, we create a settlement again. We've actually got these items here, and we can see that there is a 170 expense going out. If we open these up, we can see that they're going directly from the client's money, not touching the organization. But then this £20, if you recall, this was the management fee. This is going from the client's account, but it's entering your organization's account. So that's that £20 fee that we earned, that I created. And over here is an additional rent item that I didn't settle earlier. So another example of creating a settlement. I'm going to go ahead and give the settlement a name. This is Timothy and charges. I'm going to go and create that as a draft. That's going to allow my boss, Van, or a colleague to come in later, review it. They can go ahead and approve it. And then once it's approved, that's where the daily automatic settlement process would pick it up once it's approved. So we're going to go ahead and push that directly into Xero so that we can track it there, so we can reconcile it with our bank transactions. And we can see here it's created 3 different money movements, which is what I was going on about earlier. And here we've got additional bills payable, that additional settlement that we've created. And again, the additional income that will be created. So you can see we have to pay him. And as well, if we go back to the organization. You've got those two incomes for your organization, which then need to be dispersed and paid out. That brings us on to the invoices. So taking that specific supplier, Efficient Electricians, we're going to go and, so these synchronizations happen every morning, but you can kick them off manually. And obviously kicking them off just for one specific supplier is significantly faster than doing the entire portfolio. And here we've got Lewis, we've got those two invoices we have to pay him. I'm going to open both up to show you what that looks like. Notice we're paying this one from the property controller account because that's been paid on behalf of Raymond James. We do have the property tagged. We do have the type tagged. So these are the tracking categories I demonstrated earlier. And over here, we can see that we've actually pushed through the PDF invoice file. So whatever invoice was originally attached by the tradesman or attached by your team member flows all the way through into Xero, giving your accountant that paper trail. As a concept, where you can go from here is you can either work from your awaiting payment bills payable on Xero and make all these payments manually, or you can use one of the many integrations that Xero has to use a bulk payment platform or to create a BACS file to import into your banking. And so there are lots of options there to explore. There's Teleroo, there's Cresco, and Go Cardless, to name but a few of these partners that integrate with Xero and allow this capability. One final bit on the Xero that I'm demonstrating now is getting the rents into Xero, which is very important so that you can reconcile the rents coming into your client money account. So this system's just gone and created all those invoices for me. And we'll go ahead and open one or two and have a look. So here we've got Carol, for example. At the beginning of this demo, there was £300 that we clicked OK to reconcile from Carol. And we've created that payment in Xero, which is something that the system allows us to do. And what's very interesting is because we've gone and told Xero the exact reference that's on the bank account, we're now able to, if I reload this page, you see there were no proposals before. If I reload this page, Xero is going to understand all of these reconciliations. And this is not the same as other systems on the market. I'm not demonstrating it on this account, but the thing that makes our system different is that we are matching this rent payment to the payment that we've created. And what that allows us to do is that we can handle split payments in an elegant way. So where you have a tenant that's paid £1,000, but it's split across 3 different rents, that split has already been created for you in Xero. You don't need to do an overpayment, a prepayment, go and find the different invoices. In Xero, it's simply going to say £1,000 matching to this payment of this batch payment of £1,000. And that simply works because we're able to tell Xero, here's an amount of 300, but match it to these multiple invoices. It can be one or more invoices. For financial graphs, where you can generate kind of an income expense breakdown. This demo account doesn't have a lot of data, so the graph looks a bit empty. But as a concept, you also have expenses and management fees. So it's also useful for you as a management firm to see where are you making your money. Alternatively, if we picked only Raymond's properties on our financial items, we can literally cut the data however we want. So I'm cutting it here for the month of June. And we can see that in that month of June, £2,700 of rent was paid, £284 of management fees were earned. So this is income for my organization. And that's pretty powerful. See how much are you making on a per property basis, a specific property owner, or something that we have is tags within our platform. So if you recall, I had those different income tags. So we might want to ask the question, actually, how much am I making on my single households versus my HMOs? And if I go ahead and filter that, now I'm filtering only Raymond's flats.
Well, I'll just summarize there if I can jump in. Yeah, I mean that was amazing. I only say that because I often haven't seen this side from start to finish as well. So it was as interesting for me, and it's quite a lot to take in. I imagine a lot of people watching, parts of it are kind of like this very financy. But what I think we've shown is that the amount that COHO can kind of handle now from start to finish, and you don't have to do all of those things. Like from the starting point, from the onboarding of COHO, your rent schedule gets created for a tenant. That lets them and you see exactly what needs to be paid. So you can track that at any point. Then if you utilize our open banking or just the direct payments, you can upload a CSV, or you can just go on and click that things are paid. But from there, COHO will let any of you stay completely on top of what rent payments have been paid, where your arrears are, who are late payers, and go back in time to anywhere in a tenancy and see exactly what was paid up to at certain points. The next thing is, after that information's in there, as David demonstrated, COHO can help you track the entire credit control process, which will automatically put in the information about the rents, things like guarantor information if that needs to go out, which will also include things like phone calls that need to be made, not only the emails in the system, but the entire process. Then moving on, when you've got the ownership in, COHO automatically generates the fees and the financial items just based on the usage of the system, of the payments being made, of the maintenance issues being logged, etc. And then if you do want to do the settlement process through COHO, instead of spreadsheets or instead of some third-party software that's very expensive, it can so easily help you create the settlements that we think look really good. It will be really clear what's paid, what's due, the management fees. That can be by property or by the entire owner. And then lastly, where it got complex for me, but I'm sure if you throw it to your accountant and bookkeepers, they'll know exactly what's happening. It will just sync so perfectly with your Xero account. So it's really sort of covering out that end to end of the finances now. I mean, this is the beauty of us speaking to literally hundreds of agencies, thousands of property managers and landlords around the country, is we see every quirk, and in that we like to build that ability into the software. Our aim as a business is really to how much can we automate of your time so you can focus on the things that are growing your business, not just having to do it.